People.
Hi, welcome everyone. This is Vaishnavi, and I have with us three more speakers. I'll introduce everyone. But if you can quickly type out if you can see us and hear us. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. If you can just quickly type out if you can see us and hear us. Excellent. Okay, I think people are able to see us and hear us. Welcome everyone to today's webinar, which is on design-related careers. We will be discussing about the various specializations in design, what are the different courses available in design, and we have with us two industry experts who will talk about how design is applicable in today's era, as well as talk about the universities. So without any further delay, let's start. So I will just show my slide, just a second. Right. So to introduce myself, my name is Vaishnavi. I'm a career specialist with Mindler. And I have with me Anchal as well, who's a design alumnus and working with Mindler.
Hello.
Just a second. All right. Great. So, yeah. So, Anchal, are we ready?
Yeah, we are. Let's go.
Right. So, let's start off with careers related to design. So, over to you, Anchal, to start off with design specialization.
Okay, so before we get to specializations, let's talk about how design is important. Like something as simple as a tissue paper box is so well designed that you pull out a tissue paper, but the other ones remain safe. Had it been designed any other way, I mean, you could have run into a lot of problems. Whereas a lot of everyday things like toothpaste tubes are so badly designed that there's always toothpaste left. So there's basically a lot of different kinds of fields that design kind of affects. One that most of us in India are familiar with is fashion design, which is basically what my mom thought I wanted to do when I said I wanted to become a designer. But there's also visual communication, which includes graphic design, animation, film and video design. Industrial design, which includes product design, furniture, interiors, and of course, like fashion-related design as well, which has everything from fashion design, textile design, designing of accessories, jewelry, footwear, leather products, and a more conceptual, systematic, and strategy design, which basically helps put in systems in place. You can go to the next slide, I think, now.
Right. I think the next slide is visible, the specializations. Yeah.
I've already spoken about that.
Right. Just a second. I'm just moving to the next slide. Yeah. All right. As we've understood about the different kind of specialization, let's talk about how exactly do you pursue this specialization? How exactly do you enter a field like design as such? So when you're looking at design, you have various kinds of options available. Okay, I think I have two attendees who are saying they can't hear. Is that for everyone? Do I need to fix something with respect to my mic, or am I audible to other people? And it's just probably a technical issue for these people. Speakers, presenters, am I audible to you all?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
for others,
I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Prateek. Yeah. All right. So coming back to courses. So let's look at what are the different options available. So design as such, most of the universities in India offering bachelor's in design will be a 4-year course. There are a few universities offering a 3-year course as well. But these universities will give you a degree which is called Bachelor of Science in Design. Otherwise, when you're looking at major design-related institutes, they have a 4-year degree, which is a Bachelor's in Design, a professional course offering different kinds of specializations. Apart from that, as Anchal mentioned, the most common or the most common kind of specialization associated with design is fashion designing or fashion technology. Now, Bachelor in Fashion Technology is something which is again a 4-year course. Most of the universities offering fashion technology will expect you to have physics, chemistry, math as one of the options at your +1 and +2 level. Otherwise, for design, you can be from any stream. If you're looking at industrial or product design or automobile design, though it's not a mandatory kind of a thing, but if you have physics and math, it gives you an edge over other people because you understand the mechanics of designing a particular product. But having said that, a lot of universities will take you in even without sciences. So design as such is open to all. Coming to Bachelor in Fashion Technology, it's more about fashion and technology related to fashion industry as such, which is a 4-year course again. Now, a lot of new age universities also have an option, which is an integrated option, which is a BDes plus MDes. That's a kind of 5-year program wherein you save 1 year rather than doing bachelor's for 4 years and then doing a master's for 2 years. You kind of save in 1 year and you get into basically something like BDes plus MDes, an integrated or a dual degree, which is basically BDes plus MS. Moving on to the next slide. Of course, you have a graduation degree. You also have this option of doing this at the master's level. Now, a few universities will have a requirement of having an undergrad degree in design, but there are a lot of institutes which will cater to students who have not done anything to do with design, or probably have done something which is closely related to design, but not exactly design. So you have options like, just like bachelor's, you have options like master's in design, MSc in design, master's in fashion technology, or you can even do something which is related to your doctorate, which is a PhD course. Now, these were the conventional degrees which actually expects you to devote your entire time towards a degree. You also have an option of doing it side by side. Probably you're opting for some other degree course, and side by side you want to hone your skills in design or want to do some kind of certification or diploma. Anshul, why don't you talk about this alternate option which students can take up if they don't want to look at degree as such?
Okay, so if you don't want to, so maybe you're not sure if design is meant for you, or you don't have the time to devote to a complete like 3 or 4 year course. What you can do is you can take up some online courses. They could be in the form of a diploma, which is usually part-time, or a certification on these various websites that give you design courses. Basically what that does is it helps you gain some kind of experience and skills while also learning, while also studying something else or working somewhere else, or even sometimes when you're like, if you're doing an internship and you also want to do this on the side, refresh your skills, you can take these courses. I've seen a lot of students doing certifications before going to design school so that they have some kind of basic understanding of what design is. I've also seen a lot of professionals who decided to switch and then did some online certifications and built a portfolio and started getting jobs based on those. For people who are not entirely sure whether design is meant for them, I think online certifications and diplomas are a good option.
Right. Thank you so much. Now, after we've understood the specializations and what are the possible courses, what are the different routes students can take, let's look at what are the popular colleges in India offering something like design as such. So we have the traditional colleges like NID or NIFT or IIT Bombay, but we have new age careers like new age colleges like Pearl Academy, Vijay Bhumi, where you have Srishti, etc., etc. And to understand these universities, what they offer with respect to design and how students can get into it, we have actually invited two experts from this field to actually talk about design as a career, how it is taught in different universities, and what are the different professional opportunities for design students. Because I see a lot of attendees who are asking about scope of graphic design or scope of design as a career. We will be addressing all of those questions. We have actually shortlisted few questions which you all posted, and we'll be asking that to our experts as well. So these are different institutes which offer design, various kinds of specialization in India. Now let's look at the next option, which is the next criteria, which is basically what exactly is asked when you're looking at entrance exam. Now design, we all know, is not based on class 12 marks. Of course, you need to have certain eligibility with respect to, let's say, 50% or 50%, depending on what university you're looking at. But majorly design, the entrance or the admission procedure will basically be dependent on three elements. So we'll be talking about these three elements. So we can divide the entire admission process into three rounds. Now, this is a kind of a general idea which we are giving. Of course, each university will have its own admission timeline and admission criteria, but this is what the general is. So first of all, we have what we call aptitude test. Now, aptitude test is basically a kind of an MCQ test, which will assess your creative ability, which will assess your design aptitude, a bit about your logical and analytical skills. Yes, they will also ask for GK, your English, and current affairs. So that's something. So to give you an example, let me share a few questions which were asked in different design exams. So when I mentioned about creative aptitude, so if you look at the third question, it says, if there was a zero gravity on Earth, draw yourself in your living room along with the things you would like to anchor. So if you are specifically looking at areas like fashion design, areas which require you to draw a lot, you will be assessed on all of these areas, wherein you have to basically think from a different perspective and come up with a drawing related to that. When you're looking at analytical or logical reasoning questions, you will have questions which are something to do with today is this particular day, or probably this was the day on that particular year. Can you help us understand which one is a correct statement, which was an incorrect? This is very similar to how management exams are also conducted, also how law exams are also conducted. And then you have something which is your color related aptitude. So you need to have understanding about different colors and how are they, how is 2D, 3D actually assessed, light and shade, etc., etc. So you'll have things like what color of the flame represents highest temperature. So you'll have to answer accordingly. And then of course you have your GK and English questions as well. So this majorly is basically your MCQ based questions. And of course you have a drawing, a part of the section which is drawing based. And then once you clear this, once you clear your creative aptitude test and your general ability test, you move on to situation test and a personal interview round. So because Anshul is from NID, let us understand from her, how was her experience and how exactly it is conducted these days.
Okay, so usually these situation tests and personal interviews, group discussions, they happen at the college itself. So you have to go to the college to do these. Situation test is basically, they will give you some materials. They will, try to test your ability to kind of innovate on the spot. So for instance, for my situation test, we were given some clay, some wire, some thermocol, and we were asked to create different objects using those items. And then once we were done with that, we were suddenly presented with a question wherein we had to create a story based on the items we had created. For personal interviews and group discussions, like I also gave the entrance at Srishti and MIT. So what do you call it? Sorry, the way it's conducted keeps changing from college to college. At NID, it's a straight up personal interview with like 4 or 5 people sitting there asking you questions. Sometimes it's about your portfolio. Sometimes it's about something completely arbitrary. I've heard students go in and they just ask about their family and they come out. Other people are asked to draw entire storyboards or, create objects with paper or whatever. In group discussions, of course, like there's a lot of people sitting there. The number can, again, vary from college to college. There is usually a topic of discussion related to design. They observe how you work in a team. They observe whether you're quiet, whether you speak up when required. There are also sometimes these team exercises. For instance, in one of the tests that I gave, we were grouped into teams of 4 and asked to create garments out of garbage. So they gave us like plastic bags and nails and some like random scrap. And then by the end of it, we had to create a full fashion show, including music that we were creating using those items. So it can be a completely different experience depending on which college you're going to, depending on which year this is happening, depending on who's taking your personal interview and group discussion.
Right. Thank you so much, Anshul. So just to reiterate, basically, we started off with understanding the different specializations. So you have, if I look at the different categories, you have something which is industrial related design, we have communication related design, and then you have fashion related design. Coming to universities, we've mentioned about few universities. We will be talking about universities in detail. We have two speakers for that. And coming back to the entrance criteria, we have one which is the aptitude test. So we need to actually work on our GK, on our English, and try and solve as many sample papers as possible. All these sample papers are available online, so make sure you're working for that. Then, of course, Anshul mentioned about the situation test and the personal interview. That's something which is you can probably look at different institutes offering training on that, or otherwise you have a lot of YouTube videos describing all of these things. One thing which I need to mention here is basically portfolio. Now, what exactly is portfolio? So portfolio is basically your collection of work or your original work. Now, whatever kind of design you want to apply for, whatever kind of design you want to study, we as a evaluator or as a panel member of the admission committee, I would want to know why do you want to study that particular course and how good and how committed you are for that particular course. For that, what they ask is basically to show your portfolio. Now, portfolio is something, as I mentioned, is your original work. It can be in the form of your hard copy, or it can be an online soft version of it. So whatever, right from doodles to, let's say, you may sketch few drawings or whatever, painting you've done. So whatever you've done, let's say right from class 9th or 10th, 11th, 12th, make sure that you're collecting everything in one place, and you are basically taking that with you for the interview round, because a lot of universities will not say that we need portfolio, but if you have a portfolio with you and if you show the portfolio to them, it always gives you kind of an additional points or extra marks for particular that.
In some colleges, portfolios are also come with requirements, like they'll give you specific projects that they expect you to have in your portfolio. So there'll be topics, there'll be requirements that there have to be at least 5 artworks of this kind, 5 this thing of that kind. This particular topic has to be in your portfolio. So again, it keeps changing every year for every college. And of course, portfolios, even otherwise, even if they're not mentioned, are essential. But a lot of colleges also have requirements.
Right. So basically, make sure that you are referring to the website of the university regularly to understand their admission process, understand what exactly are they looking for when they are talking about portfolio. So Shelly, just to reiterate what portfolio is basically collection of your original work with respect to, of course, your design, sketching, doodling, painting, etc.
You can also use any other creative things, like if you write songs, you can put those in. If you write poems, if you write stories, even if you do photography, all of those things kind of go in your
right. So basically, the agenda of portfolio is to see how creative you are, how committed you are to that particular field, and whether you can show them your original work or not. Okay, so as Anshul mentioned, it can be anything to do with photography. It can be anything which is creative. So even your dance videos can also work in few universities. All right. So this is what we wanted to mention and give you a brief idea about design as such. Now let's move on to understanding the industry related scenario with respect to design and how design can be applied in various fields. For that, we have two speakers. Let's start off with the first speaker. Let me introduce you to our first speaker. So we have with us Professor Praveen Mishra. He is from Vijayabhumi School of Design. He's a communication designer, an award-winning filmmaker, and an accomplished painter. He is serving as a dean of Vijayabhumi School of Design. His numerous accolades include the National Critics Award at the prestigious Mumbai International Film Festival by Government of India and Best Documentary Film Award at Ahmedabad International Film Festival. He is an alumnus of National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad. He has served as a weekly columnist with Times of India's Ahmedabad Mirror for over 5 years. Over to you, sir. I'll just open your presentation.
Thank you so much, Vaishnavi. Very big hello to everybody who is participating. Thank you, Achal, for such presentation, which I think many of that makes it clear. I'm looking forward to Srishti's presentation too. So greetings from Vijayabhumi University and Vijayabhumi School of Design. So today's topic is give wings to your creativity, careers in design. I have exactly 20 minutes. It's 17:21 by 41. I should be done. So now, okay, my time starts now. And thanks to Achal, I think I can skip the first few slides. I'll go fast. Can I have the
Right. I think that you have
control?
an option. If you can see, there's a next and previous option, which is kind
Slides, just a
of
minute.
camouflaged.
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yes, I can see.
You can just say.
Great. So as you have been taken through certain presentations by Achal already, the design at large has is understood as industrial design and communicate, the two major domains in which the design operates. The industrial design at large is product design, automobile design, textile design, apparel design, furniture design, ceramic design, fashion design, toy design, and lifestyle and accessories design. So this is at large, like there are many more, but I think it falls under these domains. Communication design. So right now we're not going to talk about industrial design much. I'm going to make more presentation on communication design that basically includes domains like graphic design, animation, film, exhibition design, photography, and interactive design. Now, exhibition design also come in between. Sometimes it is considered as a part of industrial design because it's also like interior and retail design. It comes in under that. But in today's exhibition design, a lot of because of technology, a lot of interactivity, like user experience, a retail experience, it has come in. So a major part of exhibition design is in communication design today. So let's be in graphic design. What you have is it's a visual communication. All you have to have is basic skills in terms of understanding what is color, what is proportion, all the design concepts and design theories, design principles you are going to learn, and then that basically gets applied to anything that you see in terms of packaging, visual identity, the logo of a product. That is graphic design. So I did not explain all this. You have, I think most of you are design aspirants, so you probably have a general sense of all this. So because I have to quickly finish it, so in the sense that there is more important slides later on. So this is how it is. In communication design, okay, so for me, I would try to present what is the future of design and specifically communication design. So for that, I have to make a presentation in terms of what is design leader 4.0. Now, to understand what is 4.0, we have to understand what is 1.0. So humans have this natural desire to communicate, right? So to tell stories started off around 64,000 years ago. That's 62,000 BC in Spain. So the oldest cave paintings happened. So the stories of hunting, gathering, and kind of staying together, that those things started appearing on the caves, right? Now what happened is we also had these drawings slowly started becoming symbols, and therefore the birth of alphabets also happened. These are hieroglyphs from Egypt, and all these things were happening parallelly. Verbal language was also being developed, right? So the language started developing from about 1.5 lakh years ago till 50,000 years ago in the current form what it is today. So people used to communicate in different ways. For example, in the Great Wall of China, if they had to send war signals, they could actually reach 500 miles in a matter of 5-6 hours. How? Because the smoke patterns used to happen, right? So one tribe, if they had some message to another tribe or people in the same tribe, so they used to send messages through fire and smoke. Yeah. And also each tribe, when they used to travel, they used to have their own symbol, like in terms of supposing you signal that enemy is coming and you are not in a mood to make peace, so there's a particular signal that you send. And if you want peace, there's a flag that all those visual language was being part of this communication design 1.0. I'll straight away come to communication design 2.0. So it basically we are dating it around the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. So remember, that was the time the Renaissance painters were all doing marvelous work, very realistic work that time. And it is important to understand that till that time, design was not a separate domain. The art was dominant. Yeah, we'll come to when the design happens. So that there was a need to sell products, right? The Industrial Revolution happened. There was a need to sell products, and therefore graphic design became very, very important. Slowly, the film came in. The film came in around 1895, and this is the first poster of cinema that is dated around 1896, right? So the interestingly, the posters are color. The films were black and white. The films were silent then, but things were moving. So it was kind of motion graphics, motion cinema. So now what happened is film also gathered, sound started happening. It also became color much later. But the major shift happened is around 101 years ago at Bauhaus in Germany, when the design at large was particularly the way we see it today has been defined in Bauhaus that time. Yeah. And then later on, it was defined at Ulm and other colleges. So Bauhaus actually stayed for a very, very short time because that was Nazi Germany. And by the time it was 1933-34, it was taken off. But basic foundation of Bauhaus was done. So what we see is a lot of geometry coming in, lots of primary colors coming into the entire movement. Yeah. So the design now is separated from what art is, right? Design is also defined as separately. Industrial design, a separate design, graphic design, a separate design. So you see all these colors, even in the architecture you see, and these kind of forms still are not outdated. They're very much in trend. On the right hand side top, you see a painting by Pete Mondrian. See the colors, the graphics, the colors, the geometry, all those things are part of the Bauhaus architecture. Also had those interesting forms. In the lower part of the frame, you can see that. So for this 100 years, all these brands have ruled our lives, in the sense they've touched our lives in different ways, and the colors and the forms very much like how it generated from Bauhaus continued reshaping those look of the brands, right? Now, what is going to happen now? We are in a situation, this is an unprecedented lockdown situation. Now, you must have heard these words many times in last almost 2 months. What is going to happen now? Now, we have to understand, we are 30 years into home computers, 30 years into internet. We have films which shows almost anything that you can think of, right? Computer graphics has reached to that level. There's hardly any difference between what is imagination and what is reality. There is the lines between what is news and what is entertainment is blurred, right? So all those things are happening continuously for several years now already. Now, what is going to happen from now onwards? A lot of things with artificial intelligence and data science coming out, there's a lot of things that is going to was happening so far is going to change drastically, right? So many design schools were producing graduates for the next whatever 50 years, 60 years. They'll suddenly, by the time the graduation comes, they'll suddenly get outdated if the same curriculum continues. Now that's the scary part that we have. So be a design leader 4.0. How to be a design leader 4.0? We're not, the Vijay Bhumi School of Design basically comes with an idea that we are not going to make you regular designers. You're going to be design leaders. Now, leader has certain attributes in it, right? This is an uncertain time, but uncertainty, this is not going to be the last one. There will be many more uncertainties of different kinds. Now, those who want to be relevant, those who want to continue to be employable, they need certain attributes. Yeah. So now let's talk about it. The first design 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0 was all about broadcasting. You have a message, you want to reach out to many people, right? One to many. Now, what is going to happen is now things are drastically changed. Data science today, everything that you do, a website that you browse, to a video that you upload, to online shopping in Amazon or any other place that you do, everything is being documented, right? So data analysts are sitting on big data trying to identify each and every person, right? Your habits, your lifestyle, your purchasing capacity, to your salary, everything is known now. Yeah. Now, what is going to happen now? Your location is known. Supposing you are passing by a mall in Pune somewhere, and suddenly, Marks and Spencer sends you a message. They know it's been already 6 months that you bought your last shirt. Message would be so specific. Will tell you this is the time to buy a new one. Why don't you come in? There's some offer going for you, right? That kind of messaging. So what is happening? What is the difference here? So communication design 4.0 is going to be about narrowcasting. Now that's the amount of info. So every person is being profiled. Something. So you go to a movie, you watch a movie. What happens is you must have realized this, that suddenly you like the movie. You came out, other people are laughing. Kya bagwas film tha, right? Many a times you find something absolutely irrelevant, and people are going gaga about the film, right? So it's not about the quality of the cinema, quality of the story, quality of the craft. It is about whether somebody is able to identify with it or not, right? So that kind of a thing. So an advertisement that is targeted to you, that will be based on your profiling. The same story, the future stories, cinema is going to be different. The same story you go for, two people sees it differently, right? Two ends are going to be different based on your liking. So that's how it's going to get profiled. Now, so now the question that is going in the mind, what are the emerging careers in design in the post-COVID world? What skills and attitudes will make one continuously employable? Now in design, in business, a lot of people are talking about it. In design, we have to understand. So there are two reports that I want you to refer here. And these are going to, so there's a report by IFIM NHRDN study. The findings are, it's about creating, it's about the things that you, attitudes and the skills that you need to be able to be relevant in future, right? So the learning orientation and analytical mindset is needed. Integration of data, communication, and technology. The example that I gave you just now is one amongst that. Solution orientation and problem solving. Dealing with change and uncertainty. Now, this is not a report that was made now. Now we understand the importance of number 4. Dealing with change and uncertainty, the times that you are living in right now. People and team orientation. Now the machine is going to do a lot of work, right? But machine is not going to deal with people and team. Innovation and creativity. That's every designer would needs that. In fact, the process of admission, we actually test the potential you have in terms of innovation and creativity. Yeah, managing self, social sensitivity, right? Your empathy, are you able to empathize, right? If you're not able to, you won't be able to communicate, right? As a storyteller, as an advertiser, or as a designer, right? So multidisciplinary approach that is going to be needed. Globalization. Now we all know what is important here. Managing self, that self-awareness, self-development, and including wellness. So you can download this report from the link below. Now, there is another report that's called Skill Areas Identified by World Economic Forum's report, The Future of Jobs. Now, that also has these attributes. These are very, very similar. I'm just going to quickly read about it. Complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, people management, coordinating with others. Very, very similar, right? Your negotiation skills, your cognitive flexibility, and I have put the link there. Now, let's come to what Vijay Bhumi is trying to do. At Vijay Bhumi, we are looking at education very, very differently. So we are trying to get T-shaped professionals where you have the broad knowledge, ability to work outside the core area. So a person who comes to Vijay Bhumi School of Design, in the first year, you do courses of data science, you do courses on artificial intelligence, you do courses on business and management, you do courses in law and also performing arts. Think about all the domains. Now, future uncertainties are going to demand certain abilities, right? That can only happen if you have that kind of input. And then you go deeper in the level. So the first year is the level 0, second, third, and the fourth year is level 1, 2, and 3. So functional area, you go deeper, right? That's how it's called T-shaped professionals. Now it's basically the curriculum is based on the ideas framework: innovation, design thinking, entrepreneurial attitude, automation, and solutions. Yeah. So I'm trying to get to the point. How much time I have? I have 6 minutes. Okay. So Vijay Bhumi School of Design, that's actually at Karjat, in Greater Mumbai. I'm right now actually talking to you from Karjat. We have a beautiful campus out here, 54 acres, lush green campus. It's somewhere in Western Maharashtra between Bombay and Pune. It's under Greater Mumbai only. It falls under Raigad district, Greater Mumbai. So let's talk about Vijayabhumi University. It's India's first liberal professional university. We're starting with these 4 schools this year, the first 4. The 5th one we're starting next year. But the first year, because you're going to do courses from all of them, it's not going to matter, because Vijayabhumi School of Design, IFM Business School, Vijayabhumi School of Law, Insofi School of Data Science, these are the 4 schools we are starting in 2020. Vijayabhumi School of Arts and Humanities is starting in 2021. So first year is common for all of you, and then second year you start doing other things. So this is kind of a little look of the campus that we have. This is the front facade taken from the reception where I am sitting right now, and you see the Sahyadri Mountains from all the sides. That top left is the design block. If you can see, basically from the design lab, you see 270 degrees of mountains, and during monsoons, you can see 140 waterfalls. That's the amphitheater in the foreground. This is how the mountain looks like from the design studio. Yeah, and other side. So this is taken, and we have a semi-Olympic size swimming pool also for those who are in sports and all. This is the residential block within the campus, and people can stay there. This is the kind of, see, in the entire construction architect is Alok Shetty, and he's one of the 30 under 30 Forbes list. And it's amazing thought that, one of the webinars, he was my guest, and I asked the thought behind it. So not a single explosion was done, not a single tree was cut in the entire construction. Yeah. So this is where I am, and I think I have finished my presentation good 3 minutes before the scheduled time. Wow. Okay, so that we can have more time for the questions. That's our website. In fact, I would also request Vaishnavi to share that till the time we are having conversation in the chat box. If you can share the coupon code in case anybody wants to apply, you'll get 50% off on your fees, like not fees, the application fees. Yes.
Right, sir. I'll just share that with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm saying is the summary of the matter, because I still have 2 minutes, I'll just try to sum up what we're looking at design education very differently. If the design education is happening in the same way, it will produce graduates who will get outdated in a matter of 10 years, 15 years, right? You need to have a multidisciplinary, and pedagogy has to be learning by solving, because uncertainty basically demands certain amount of attitudes and practices that has to be built inside, right? So that's one. And yes, we are also, another thing I would like to add is we have only 30 seats in terms of B days and only 30 in M days. The reason being, we want to create a kind of pool of design leaders who can change shape the world, right? So basically, there is we're not into the numbers. We want to give them the best infrastructure, the best faculty members. Try to give a very liberal curriculum where one can actually craft their own. For example, you join design today, in 1 year, you suddenly get more interested into data science, which I don't think is going to happen, but suddenly that happens. You end up being a data science graduate, right? You can do minor in design and major in data science. So that option Vijayabhumi University gives you, right? So and vice versa for any. So all these 4 schools. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of questions.
Yes,
I'll start off with the questions which I have for your school. So let's understand the admission process. How are you planning with the admission process, keeping in mind the COVID situation? So for the current 2021 batch, how are you planning the entire admission procedure?
Okay, so initially our thought was to have a Vijayabhumi Discovery Camp where an aspirant actually comes to our university and stays for a few days, experiences, gets knowledge of all the possible fields, not just what is being offered at Vijay Bhumi, but in general in life, and talks to lots of experts who have done good, and then they decide what the candidate wants to do in life, because that opportunity is not provided to most of the Indian students, right? Most of the decisions are taken either by parents or well-wishers, and everybody becomes an expert career counselor. So now what happens is we wanted to provide that opportunity as one discovers. But in the changed situation, because there's a lockdown today, what is going to happen is we are doing the test. We are doing a VSAT test, that the Vijay Bhumi Scholastic Admission Test, and that is going to happen online. So people are going to, those who are in green zone, they can actually go to the nearest center and appear for the VSAT test. And those who are in red zones or maybe even in orange zones, you can actually appear from your home. So this is how it is. It's testing primarily what Achal has actually presented. For MDes, there's another layer, that is portfolio test. So we are going to also have online interviews where portfolio can be presented. Yeah. For BDes, whatever the test, only if you pass VSAT, you straight away get admissions at Vijay Bhumi.
All right. Thank you so much. So let's move on to our next question. So how do you think with respect to Indian spectrum, this COVID thing will change the opportunities available for designers?
It will completely change. For example, see what happened is out of home advertisement. That was a major part of advertisement, right? Now nobody's out of home. What happened to the entire communication industry? Those who advertised on airports, railway stations, suddenly they're finding no audience there, right? So communication design has completely changed, right? Your packaging is going to change because the way it is being displayed in supermarkets are going to change also, right? So it's going to be very, very different. In fact, the fastest thing that is going to change is communication design. Yeah, stories are going to change. Now, what is going to happen? People used to go to theaters. Now, who is going to go theater? Sitting like 1 meter away or just 2 feet away from somebody who could sneeze at you, right? Now, those theaters, nobody is going to go to theaters now. The entertainment is changing. Therefore, communication design is changing. The way we look at the world is changing. Things are getting virtual. Things are getting digital. Now there's no option for you to switch off your locations, right? Suddenly you won't be able to use any of the apps if you switch off your location. We're so dependent now on the apps that is there on us, on our pockets, right? Now this is the post-COVID world is going to be very, very different, and communication design is completely going to change.
All right. Thank you. So our next question is basically there are dozen of schools which are design related in India. So how is Vijay Bhumi School of Design different from other people? What are your highlights?
Great. So, for example, in advertising, in communication design, advertising is very important, right? No design school actually touches upon copywriting deeply. They might just touch upon, but they do not have courses on copywriting as far as we know. Now, copywriting is very important. The crafting of language is very important. We have courses, experts coming in. That's a very huge domain. When we're talking about communication design, writing becomes a very important. Design remains at large as aesthetics to make things more beautiful, more usable, like more user friendly. But here we are actually crafting the language, the verbal language, the written language. Yeah? So that is one part that is going to happen. Second thing, the curriculum is drastically different. The curriculum that we have, no other school actually have data science in their curriculum, design curriculum. Nobody will have law and business and artificial intelligence coming into. Now, design cannot live in isolation. Design is it's multidisciplinary now, right? So the future professionals must have this idea of what is data science, right? What is robotics? What is artificial intelligence? For example, people will go out, there'll be apps, will put all the information about the brands and company, and your own likings and disliking in terms of colors and forms, you put it, and it will give you options in terms of logo. right? Something that doesn't exist. It will also do a search, back-end search saying, okay, nothing like this exists. So you have an option to choose from. So now what are the graphic designers going to do if this is going to happen, right? So therefore the design team who has aesthetics, who is innovative and understands how data science works and technology works will remain relevant in whatever 50, 60 years from now onwards, right? Even in an extraordinarily uncertain situations. So regular design graduates are going to really struggle. And therefore, we are starting a design school which will actually change the entire way the design education is being seen, specifically communication design domains like films, graphic design, interactive design, design for digital experience, filmmaking, animation, all kind of stuff, illustration for that matter, user interface, game design, app design, all those things are going to be part of our curriculum where we are going to look at the design very, very differently. Yeah.
Right. I think we are good with all the questions. We've covered all the things. Thank you so much, sir, for being part of
Thank you
this
so much.
webinar and answering these questions. And I'm sure all the participants gained a lot of knowledge about your design institute. Let's move on to our next speaker. We have with us Ms. Srishti Bajaj, who is from Pearl Academy. So Ms. Srishti Bajaj is head of department product design, accessories design, jewelry design. Srishti is an industrial designer, educator, and researcher who holds an MA in design products from the Royal College of Art. She founded Design Bait, a design and research consultancy, and was thereby hailed as one of the top 20 creative entrepreneurs in India by IIM and British Council. She has extensive work experience in the domains of industrial products, accessories, and jewelry design, and champions creative agility, empathetic design, sense making, critical thinking, system designs, and entrepreneurship. We welcome you, ma'am. Over to you. Do you want me to play the video right now?
Yes, hi everybody. I just want to say a big hello to all the people who've joined in. I know this is evening in lockdowns, and I hope everybody is healthy and safe and looking forward to a design career, fingers crossed. As design educators, we are very, very happy to influence as many people as we can because we are very passionate about design, and we hope that all of you will get inspired by the conversations. And thank you again for the rest of the for all the rest of the panelists. Yeah, let's cue up the video. The Pearl video.
Right. So the video the Pearl video you want to play?
The Pearl video, please. Yes.
Right.
All right. So that video was just to give you a glimpse of what we do at Pearl. As you can see, we have multiple campuses. Delhi, Bangalore upcoming, Calcutta upcoming, in Jaipur, in Bombay, and soon in London. So there is a lot of stuff happening. It's a very exciting place to be. They certainly keep me busy. So today I'm going to specifically focus on the School of Design. Pearl Academy has 5 schools now. There is a School of Creative Practice, there is a School of Media, there is Contemporary Businesses, School of Fashion, and School of Design. I am part of the School of Design. The School of Design itself has multiple verticals under it. So let me just put a presentation on for you guys. So I'll take you through the different verticals of design within the School of Design. And as I go through each of them, I'll try and explain a little bit of what we do in all of them. So let's start. There we go. I think design, whether we look at India or we look at around the world, today it's converging. I think we have work that's happening across the globe. Sitting in India, we have designers collaborating across the ponds. So it's very, very important for the skills, the tools, what you learn, the academics, the pedagogy to be very, very relevant to the current times. So I'm going to take you through a lot of different verticals, but please pay attention to the images because all of that is student work. Just to give you a sense of what our students are capable of. So let's go with the first thing. Steve Jobs, I hope everybody knows, the man behind Apple computers, although he was not a designer. This is something that a lot of people confuse. The design mind was Jonathan Ive, but Steve Jobs was the man with vision, right? And he famously said that design is not just what it looks like and feels like, design is how it works. And I think that's what the School of Design focuses on. So while aesthetics is very important, how something appears is very important, but also very important is the mechanics, the brain inside the machine, so to speak. And we make sure that our students are equipped to deal with this through the years. Let's look at the next slide. So the School of Design is comprising of 3 schools. There is communication design within the department, there is product design, and then there is interior design. And each one of them has specific disciplines under it. And I'm going to take you through all of them as we move forward. First, I'd like to talk about communication design. I think that's already been mentioned a lot earlier by the previous speaker, but I will quickly touch upon all the various paradigms that we teach under communication design. We have 4 disciplines that we cover, and each of them is an independent program. Okay, the first up is graphic design. This is the most traditional design fields, and here, like you can see, there's a lot of graphic elements, whether it's branding, whether it's typography, whether it's any kind of visual element, visual work. If you look at the Nike logo, the famous Nike logo, the swoosh, which you've seen, that's actually done by a communication designer. So here you see this is work again designed by a graphic design student called Mita Chavan. Next up is what are the areas it covers? So graphic design includes type design, print and digital media, illustrations, visual branding, advertising, film photography, motion graphics, and infographics. And some of the application sectors, if you'd like to know, is design offices. So you could be hired by a design office, advertising agencies, various brands and publication houses, corporate houses, packaging design companies, and MNCs requiring data visualization. This is also something that's become very big these days. So if you get hired by an Accenture, they work with a lot of data and they mine a lot of data. And for it to be made accessible for an audience that's not trained to look at numbers, they look at data visualization to be able to make sense of that data. So again, that's a very upcoming field within graphic design. The other thing is animation and VFX. As you can see, this is a story by a student called The Stupid Creative. It's an interactive story. Everything from the characterization, the narrative building, the animation, learning the software, all of that is taught to the students. And this is a course that's, again, it has a blend of graphic elements also, but the focus will always be animation. So from being able to sketch to be able to use the software tools, all of that is taught to the students. The other thing you can look at in this is the media content. So oftentimes you see that whether it's TV shows, whether it's news, whether it's movies, they have a lot of animation inbuilt into it. So there are a lot of visual effects for film, commercials, post-production for TV, 2D, 3D animation, gaming, product visualization, training and simulations. I mean, today, if you look at anywhere in the world, when somebody is training, flight training or car driving training, people are using simulated animation to help you learn that through virtual and augmented reality. So AR, VR are very elements and tools that we teach today. Application sectors includes television and network stations, production studios, online and e-commerce, e-learning, advertising agencies, and gaming industry. Gaming uses a lot of animation. Anybody who's an avid gamer would know what I'm talking about. The other course is called Interaction Design. Interaction Design, as you can see, is a game. This is a virtual, well, I wouldn't call it virtual, but an app to help tourists in Delhi navigate very easily. So anytime somebody's developing an application, okay, a website, this is under interaction design. This is also ubiquitously called UX and UI design. Let's see what that includes. Areas covered is web and app design, digital video, user interface and user experience design, service design, game design, physical computing, interactive environments. Application sectors, IT companies. Accenture, for example, hires a lot from us, especially the UX UI team. So that's a very, very popular company with our students. E-commerce platforms, e-learning like Byju's, advertising agencies, digital production houses, gaming companies, corporate houses, MNC requiring data visualization. Again, if they want to have something that's a digital interface, they would hire a UX UI designer. MNCs like Samsung will hire UX UI designers to work on their backends and data interfaces a lot more. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is people often confuse design and art, and because they're both creative, what is the real difference? And I think design is also where a little bit of science is involved. It does not mean that it's mandatory to have a science or a mathematics as a background, but I think design as a domain is so agile that often for you to be able to create something, you have to work with transdisciplinary experts. So it's quite possible that tomorrow when you're doing a project, even while you're in college, okay, you might be working with a healthcare specialist. You might be working with a material specialist. You might be working with an architect. You might be working with a scientist to maybe grow new materials. So it is a blend of art and science. And I think design really does or is able to bridge the two. The course that I want to talk about, and this is of course my absolute bias because I'm a trained product designer, we have again 3 verticals under it. So one is the product design or industrial design as it's popularly known. Here you can see in this image is a wheelchair designed by a student called Anuja. She did work with healthcare specialists and patients to realize this design. So as you can see, the softwares, okay, color palette, the aesthetics, the usability, how it's going to move, the mechanics, all of that are things that you will learn and apply when you're learning product and industrial design. Let's see what are the sectors. So the scope covered is essentially functionality-driven, industrially produced goods and consumer durables. So your electrical appliances, right? From your televisions to your air conditioners, lighting and fixtures, furniture, IoT enabled. IoT means Internet of Things. I think today we are living in a world where we're surrounded by technology. As somebody said, industrial design 4.0, which really means that we are living in a world of data, artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, Arduino, interactive products, and IoT is when two products talk to each other. So if from my mobile phone, I can turn on my air conditioner before I reach home so that I can cool my room, that's an Internet of Things or a connected product. So we teach you how to do all of those things. Interactive products is, of course, something which has sensors, and it's coded so that it is working independently, autonomously on your directions. So if I have a mug and if I wanted to retain a certain temperature without changing, getting hotter or colder because of the ambient temperature, I can program that mug to do exactly that. So those kinds of things students are playing with. Application sectors, of course, includes design consultancies and studios like Desmania, Tata Lexi, Futuring, and of course, large production companies like Godrej, Whirlpool, Samsung, furniture-based companies like IKEA, Durian. These are just some names to help you understand the context in which students go and find jobs once they graduate, or how companies hire. And a lot of our students are working in these companies. So it's very exciting to hear from our alumni what they're up to. Accessory design is the other domain. This, of course, relates to lifestyle accessories, and it bags and shoes and tabletop tableware, decor objects, and it does deal with the aesthetic part of design much more, not just functionality, but it is driven by trends and aesthetic. The other one is jewelry design. Jewelry design, of course, as the name suggests, is about jewelry, but we look at both extremes. We look at contemporary jewelry, but we also look at fine jewelry. We look at traditional jewelry practices. So anything from gemology to understanding how production happens in the jewelry sector, all of that is covered under these programs. I'm just going to take you to a slide where you're able to see what happens in both of these domains. So both are style and aesthetically driven, object-driven programs. Like I've already mentioned these. Application sectors can include companies like Tanishq, Ramgopali, Carrot Lane, Onende, accessory brands like Gucci, High Design, Liberty, Napa Dori. A lot of these are Indian brands as well. So accessory students often go and set up their own companies. That's a very popular choice with a lot of our students. So we have alumni over the last 7-8 years who now have very successfully running companies, and we are very, very proud of them. Interior design is the third discipline under School of Design. And of course, as the name suggests, it deals with the interior aspects of any space. So here you see an example of a student exploring a heritage site and looking at redesigning it as a public space. It is a proposal. So whether it's drawing, whether it's CAD, whether it's going to a site to actually see what is happening, all of that is done as part of learning. This is another example of a student doing a installation in a museum. As you can see, the layouts on the side, and of course, a 3D representation of what this space will actually look like. The interior design department also looks at space planning and styling, interior services, climate response, spatial lighting, so fitted furniture, heritage, and conservation. Interior services includes your HVAC systems, your electrical systems, your plumbing, all of those things are also taken care of. Application sectors includes interior and architecture design firms, art direction in cinema, advertising, window dressing in retail industry. Again, hugely popular field. Event design, realtors, property developers often hire our students, corporate companies requiring in-house design consultants. Again, even in interior design, I think one of the most popular things that students do is they do set up their own companies very early on and are often very, very successful. So it's again a sector where a lot of, let's say, initiative-driven students take up the course. I'm going to now take you through what is the learning experience, because what happens always is that we talk about the program, we talk about we do this, we do that. However, I would also like to share from a student's point of view some of the things that one is exposed to. So as an undergrad program, there are 4 key stages in the learning experience, and that includes a year in foundation, which is actually common. So our foundation year, students share classroom with fashion students, with media students, with design students all together. They learn to work with each other. They also learn the fundamentals of design, because some of those things are very common. For example, drawing, right? Drawing is common for all design disciplines. So it is taught in the foundation year. The second year, we focus on the methodology. What is the process? How do you research? How do you synthesize? And how do you apply? This is a crucial year because here you learn the frameworks in which you can practice design. And if you have a strong framework, no matter what design problem is thrown to you in your professional career, what kind of brief you are given, you will be able to find an approach for it. So when we talk about agile designers, that often happens through a strong fundamental in methodology. The third year is real world focus. We also believe that it's important for students to understand what's happening outside the classroom. How do you get industry ready if you're only sitting inside the classroom? So there's a lot of industry interface that happens. There's a lot of cultural interface that happens. And there's a certain ecosystem that we provide as students for this exchange. And I have a few more images as we go forward to show you what that really means. The fourth year, of course, focuses on the graduation project, which is like your touchstone for the 4-year journey. This is where all students choose their own independent brief. You could do your own brief, you could work with the company, and this is where we want to see what you've done learned over the 3 years and how you culminate it into a design project. This is often a very anxious time for students. Our current final year students, despite the pandemic, are closing their projects, doing juries, and hopefully we'll have a virtual graduate show soon enough. Let's look at the next one. So what are we doing really? We want to make sure that as a design student, you know how to take your ideas from just a thought, okay, to an actual thing that you realize in the end, whether it's a product, a service, or a space design. Imagination to reality is very important. I think a lot of people believe that designers essentially just go into a room, okay, and suddenly an idea drops. But actually, that's not how it happens. There is a process. There's a method to the madness, as they say. So it is very important for us to teach you how to get from a strong idea to deliver a strong product. Very, very important. Design thinking is an important component of design studies anywhere. And that's super crucial because it allows you to really look at important insights and be able to come up with opportunities and solutions that are successful. This design thinking, it's a very, very common term these days. Even business schools, medical schools are using it, and it all started with design. So when you join a design school, you're actually at a part of a global movement, really. Research and analysis, very important. Whether it's primary research, secondary research, it's very, very important for you to step outside and see how things happen in the real world, like I said before. So this is a student mind mapping and putting together information that they've collected with field research. Learning by making, crucially important. I think for anything in the creative world, it's a hands-on learning experience. So if you don't make it yourself, you wouldn't know how things are made. So we have a great focus on learning by making. We have excellent labs, whether it's a makerspace, whether it's media studios, whether it's fashion labs, whether it's your computer spaces with AR, VR, with virtual learning in virtual environments, whether it's woodworking, metalworking, all of those things are part of your learning process. Anything you can think of, you must deliver by creating something tangible. Technology is very, very important. So students have access to the latest technology, whether it's 3D printing, laser cutting, this is rapid prototyping, for example, whether it's, again, virtual reality, your HoloLenses, etc. All of these are important aspects of being a professional today. Because once you step out into the world, this is the reality. So it's very important for us to prepare students to be ready for that reality. Immersive workshops. This happens throughout the 4 years, by the way. These are examples of students actually on a offsite, working with artisans, working with craftsmen, experimenting, playing with materials, and really learning on their own. So there are cultural trips, craft trips throughout the year, and we make sure that the students really get a hang of what is happening in the remotest part of the country. Again, very, very important. I would like to bring the video here, but maybe I'll take that next at the end. There is industry orientation. Remember I talked about why industry is important? This is a bunch of students at Tata Motors in Pune. Look how happy they look, especially because they're not inside the classroom. We also have design for impact as an important component of learning. We believe today we are living in a world where design has a definite impact. I think a lot of sustainability issues that we're having in the world, for plastic products, for example, I think designers have to bear the blame for it. And I think today no design student should leave an institute without understanding the value and impact of design. So this is a project by a student who was working in villages, and she was looking at how collecting cow dung becomes a hygiene issue for people in the village and women especially. So she created this collection point that not just allows you to collect a large amount of quantity together, but it also keeps hands off. This project was also showcased at Dubai Design Week in 2017. International experience, as part of the curriculum, every student who comes to Pearl gets an international experience. It is part of the curriculum. So whether it's interacting with institutes around the world, for example, currently my students are working with Nottingham Trent University. So their students and my students are working on a project together. So it's surely an international collaborative project that they're working on. These are postgraduate students who are taken to Domus Academy for about 4 weeks. So they were inside the classrooms at Domus. They were studying seated next to students in Milan. So really a very, very rich experience. So both industry projects and international experience are part of the classroom. We invite a lot of people for master classes, not just Indian talent, but also international talent. The image above is Steelcase. I don't know if you know about them, but go check them out. They do fabulous, fabulous products. And below is Studio Ragalic from Poland. Again, a great furniture designer, and he works a lot with India. So we thought it would be interesting to call him to see how, from an international perspective, do people really want to work with India as a design destination. So very, very interesting. The other thing is design conferences and exhibition. It's very important to have an exposure of what's going on in the world today, in design in India especially. So on the top, you have Pune Design Festival. In fact, every year our students win awards at Pune Design Festival in the domain of furniture, industrial, communication, and interior design. And again, you see an image of a student representing Pearl Academy at the Global Grad Show. There are two last slides that I want to focus on. I think for us, the entire curriculum, the experience is focused on these 6 things, which we think are very, very essential for any design student. You must know how to design for empathy, because you're always creating for the other, you're not creating for the self. You must be driven by curiosity. If you are to change the world, you should be first curious about the world. You should know what makes it tick to be able to change it. So curiosity is very, very important. Of course, creativity is essential, because how are you able to think outside the box compared to a layman? A 360-degree perspective, you need to have an understanding of socio-economic, cultural perspectives. You must know about sustainability, for example. You must know about the latest technological inventions in the world, even if it doesn't directly connect you, because somewhere that inspiration will come through, and it's very, very important for you to have that awareness and apply it to your work. You must have an aesthetic eye. I think this is the first visceral reaction anybody has to something they see. It must attract them visually. So aesthetics are very, very important, and you must be a skillful maker. If you don't know how to make it, you will not be able to create or finally deliver something to a client. So you must be a skillful maker. So I think that's about it. I think I've already talked about some of the things that students usually are able to do after they complete a design degree. So whether it's getting a job as a full-time employee, or becoming a creative entrepreneur, or being a freelance consultant. Today, gig economy is the big thing, and I have a feeling that since we're all locked down in our homes for at least another 6 months intermittently, a lot of people will be working from home for various companies as consultants. And of course, you can pursue your master's on MPhil or PhD after you do your undergrad. Yeah, I think that's it for me. The whole point is to think big, be able to brainstorm, bring your ideas collectively together, think differently, and of course, be creative. I would like to ask Vaishnavi, do I have time to share the screen and show that?
I think we have a few questions for you. Let's take that up first.
Okay, I'll take the questions, then I will like to show that video.
Right. So I'll just. All right. So the first question is basically about the admission process this year.
Mhm.
So how exactly is it for Pearl Academy?
Well, we're doing it online. It's virtual. Everything is virtual these days.
Mhm.
So the entrance exam happens online. The interviews happen online. In fact, even the scholarship interviews are happening online. So there will be a day that will be decided and shared with all the applicants, and what is called a design aptitude test, as was discussed earlier. And one has to just log in and do their best.
Right, right. And during the webinar, your presentation, you mentioned that your students are placed outside as well. So how is this collaboration? How are students basically given this international exposure?
So what we have is in the third year, there is a component called International Experience Lab. And that can translate itself into several ways. One, we can try and bring an international designer to come to inside the classroom and do extended workshops with our students. The second is we collaborate with international universities. Like I mentioned, Nottingham Trent in Delhi, our students are working with. They're students with Gloucestershire in Bombay, and they're working with University of Derby in Jaipur. And what we are essentially doing is every week, the students in India and the students in the UK meet, the tutors in India and the tutors in UK meet, and they're given a common brief. So one of the briefs, for example, is to look at COVID-19 that we are dealing with today. It's a global impact, it's a global phenomena. So how do culturally designers from different countries will respond to? So they're all doing a project together. And hopefully we'll have something to exhibit by the end of the semester. The third is that students get an opportunity to travel. If we weren't in lockdown, we were actually going to take our students to UK to look at, let's say, crafts locally, education locally, industry locally in the UK, and understand what's happening in design outside India. It's unfortunate they were not able to go. We had a lot of disappointed students this time because of it. But those are essentially the things that a student gets to do. And I would like to also underscore that every student who enrolls gets an opportunity for an international lab.
All right, all right. And so design as such is a skill-based profession. So in such a field, we need to have internships. So how does Pearl help students get this industry exposure with respect to internships?
So I think we have within internships as well, or at least let me expand on industry exposure. So again, there are several ways we do that. One, we have a lot of industry experts who come inside the classroom. We have master classes and workshops all the time. We take our students to industry studios, so where they meet people on the shop floor, for example. The other is an industry live project. So what we do is we will go out to Unilever, which we did this year, and Unilever gave a brief. So our students in communication design, in interior design, and in product design all worked on a brief given by Unilever. They worked with their marketing and design team to deliver on a design solution for the brief that they were working on. For internships, we connect students with studios and companies around the country. So you could be working with interning with the Godrej, and oftentimes we've seen that the internship also translates into a final degree project, and even then it translates into pre-placement offer by those companies. So I have a student who interned with Godrej. They really liked him. They called him back for a final year project. Again, the project was put into production, and now that person is now working with Godrej and it was hired. So actually, it could be quite interesting as a trajectory. If you are really, really keen on working with a particular industry, it can happen and start right inside the classroom.
Right. Thank you so much. I think one last question I have. So I would also want to have your thoughts about how industry will change for designers post-COVID.
Um, I think not just industry, the world has changed post-COVID. And I think what essentially we're looking at is people are going to be much more sensitive about the value that they are creating, whether it's through products, services, or space, or any of the other fields. So the value for your product is going to be much more keenly looked at. I think people are going to be far more cautious about how they spend, what they engage with. So I presume that there's going to be a lot more focus on technology for sure. There's going to be a much greater focus on social work. So I believe that a lot more medical products, for example, I'm talking as a product designer, there's going to be a shift in terms of the kind of things that people need to cope with COVID-19, at least, because we're going to be living with it for the next 2 years. I think that's the prediction. So that's going to shift. I think companies are going to be far more choosy with the kind of people they hire. So one will need to have very, very strong skill sets to be picked up by the best of the companies. So everybody's going to be far more selective. I think they're going to be looking at innovating. If we go by what has recently happened in the last few weeks with the Prime Minister's announcement of helping Make in India, I also hope that Design in India becomes an important aspect, because if you're going to create products that are globally competitive and right here in India, I think we're going to have a very, very interesting time for designers in the future. But you will have to be very good. I don't think industries today will pick up just because they want to hire. They will pick up only if they want to hire. So I think that shift is going to happen more and more. Oftentimes, you'll also see that companies are going to look at people with complementary skill sets. So, for example, a student who's done industrial design, does he or she also have UX, UI skills? So instead of hiring two different people, they might go for a single person who has the complementary skill sets. So to allow that to happen, we are looking at, for example, a lot of extra studios that we are setting up for students to adapt and learn some of these skill sets. So we have open labs where, for example, an industrial design student can actually learn UX, UI from a communication design student, or can learn creative entrepreneurship from a business, creative business faculty. So we allow for a lot of cross-disciplinary learning to happen, because I think the future is going to be multi-skilled. It's not going to be singular skilled, for sure.
All right. I think that was all I wanted to ask. I think we've covered almost all the questions which even participants had about the admission procedure and how designers will actually make an impact post-COVID. So I think with this, we are coming to the end of the webinar. I would like to thank ma'am. I would like to thank Sir and Achal for taking out time and explaining design as a field, application of design, and how universities are coping up with the current situation, and how design can be actually implemented post-COVID. So any last thoughts, Achal, you want to share? I think you're on mute.
I said, no, I think our two speakers have covered pretty much everything.
Right.
We have been answering some of the questions that have been coming up. So I think we're good.
Yes. So thank you so much, everyone, for being part of this webinar. And thank you so much, all the panelists. I think we are good to go.
Yeah, hi. I really want to leave students happy. And I think,
Right.
can I share that video that I had? Because I feel it really is, I think, no matter which institution you're in, I think design is such a creative experience. And I think I wanted to share that video. I'll do a screen share just to show students that no matter which design college you choose, I think the journey of a designer, the inspiration that you get from around the world is beautiful. And I think that experience itself is worth it, if nothing else.
Right. If you could share your screen and quickly play the video, I think we're good.
Okay.
When you're close to me, up on melancholy hill, there's a plastic tree. Are you here with me? Just looking out on the day of another dream, where you can't get what you want, but you can get me. So sadly, 'cause you are my medicine. When you're close to me, when you're close to me, the cold and the submarine round the world we'll go. Does anybody know if we're looking out on the day of another dream? If you can't get what you want, then come with me. Up on melancholy hill, systematic. Just looking out for the day when you're close to me. When you're close to me. When you're close to me.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you so much.
The last line, let the journey teach you.
Great, great, great. Thank you so much, all the speakers. It was great having you on board.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you,
Thank you,
Anshul.
Vaishnavi.
Thank you, all the participants. Have a good night. We'll see you all with the next webinar. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.